The content that many thought leadership professionals publish today is not nearly good enough. It's not good enough to open doors at high levels in the companies that they want to reach. It's not good enough to end the skepticism at the top of their company about whether thought leadership is valuable in the first place. And it's not good enough to help their firms lure top talent to the organization. The attorneys, the consultants, the IT professionals, the architects, whoever it is their firms want to recruit and see their firm as a thought leader in their domain. So how can thought leadership professionals create exceptional content time after time? That's what I'm going to explain in this, the premiere episode of The Huddle. Many B2B companies now have somebody in charge of thought leadership content. Now, to create this content, some of them do serious primary research, surveys of hundreds of executives, interviews with best practice companies, and extensive desk research. Some thought leadership content groups develop content by capturing the expertise of their subject matter experts, by interviewing them, turning it into white papers, blogs, conference presentations, and what have you. But when you look at how much these companies are spending annually on thought leadership, it can be a sizable investment. Research that we did 3 years ago found that the average spending on thought leadership at a B2B company is nearly 6% of revenue. That is a considerable expense today. It should be no surprise then that some CFOs, CMOs, and even CEOs are asking questions about the return on the thought leadership investment. Essentially, they're saying to the thought leadership chief, what are we getting from all this content that you're producing and the marketing programs that get it in front of our audiences? That, of course, is putting the people who run thought leadership on the defensive. When these thought leadership chiefs come to me for guidance, the first thing I do is to listen intently about what worries them. And then I ask them to point me to the best content that their team has produced in the last 2 to 3 years. When I read that content, in some but not all cases, it tells me everything I need to know about the questioning that they're getting from above in their firms. So the issue is this, it's that even what they believe is their best content is not nearly good enough. By my criteria, it's okay or maybe good. But even good is not nearly good enough today. Not when you can get dozens of reports on just about any business topic by typing into a search engine, or even better, putting prompts into a generative AI tool such as ChatGPT. The ultimate test of competence for a thought leadership chief is the content that their group creates. It's the research reports, the white papers, the conference presentations, the blog posts, the book, everything from a 500-word blog post to a 50,000-word book. So that's your product. It's ultimately what you should be judged on and measured against. And it's totally fair. For a bunch of automobile designers, the product they're measured against is how attractive that vehicle is to consumers. And of course, the sales of that vehicle. A poorly designed car will sell poorly. Think about the Pontiac Aztek back in the year 2000. When it hit the market, it was a cross between a minivan and an SUV. And it flopped spectacularly because it was ugly. Pontiac stopped making the vehicle, in fact, only 5 years later. In Hollywood, for the producers and directors of a streaming series, their product is a series concept and how well they executed each and every episode. A streaming series with a dull storyline won't get a large enough audience to recoup its investment. Just consider a Disney Plus series called The Acolyte. It was a Star Wars spin-off that Disney spent an estimated $180 million to develop just for season 1. Just 2 months after the first airing in June 2024, Disney canceled the entire series. Down the drain went an estimated $180 million. So here's the problem. Some thought leadership chiefs overestimate the quality of the content that their people produce. But why does that happen? The way I see it, they don't recognize the two most important elements of outstanding thought leadership content. The first one is a truly novel solution to a complex, high-stakes problem. The second is the evidence that that novel solution actually works. Evidence in the form of real case studies where you cite the names of companies and the impact, the results that those companies got in terms of revenue, cost reductions, cycle time improvements, quality improvements, and whatnot. Now, the heads of thought leadership who do recognize what high-quality content looks like are people I call content connoisseurs. I use the term connoisseur purposely here. They're the thought leadership equivalent of a wine connoisseur. Now, wine connoisseurs have a refined ability to recognize high-quality wine. For them, that includes the sight, the swirl, the smell, and of course, the taste of a really good wine. Thought leadership content connoisseurs have their own elements of quality, 9 of which I've talked about for decades. They are novelty, evidence, depth, practicality, relevance, clarity, coherence, illumination, and rigor. Now, content connoisseurs have 4 major advantages over thought leadership chiefs who aren't discerning enough about the content that their people produce. Those 4 advantages are a talent advantage, a research advantage, a marketing and sales advantage, and finally, a service innovation advantage. Let's talk about that first advantage, the talent advantage. They realize that the most important skills for creating exceptional content are conducting illuminating case study interviews, interviewing executives and understanding why their company addressed an issue in a certain way and whether that company was successful or not in addressing the issue, and recognizing the patterns that distinguish best practice from worst practice. In other words, what do the best companies do differently than the worst companies in addressing the issue at hand? And another skill is to develop a compelling narrative around their findings. And this is the skill of creating a persuasive argument about some problem in the world that they studied and a much better way to solve it. The second advantage that thought leadership chiefs gain when they are content connoisseurs is a research advantage. Now, this is very closely related to the talent advantage that I just spoke about. These content connoisseurs know how to stage high-quality case study research. It's the process of studying a group of companies, it could be 20, 30, 40, or more, and the more the better, on a topic to determine why some organizations are excelling at the topic at hand and why others are not. A number of big ideas in business, in management, have come out of this kind of research. One is Clay Christensen's disruptive innovation model, which began with his research on the disk drive industry back in the 90s and then led to his research of other industries. This case study research model is the one that Jim Collins has used in authoring 2 best-selling books, Good to Great and Built to Last. It's the research method of the concept that I am most aware of, business reengineering, the method that Michael Hammer and his research team used 30 years ago to determine what do the best companies using IT do differently than the companies that are getting little, if any, value from IT. The third advantage that thought leadership chiefs gain when they are thought leadership content connoisseurs is a marketing and sales advantage. In this case, the core content that they are creating will make their firm's marketing and sales programs far more effective. With compelling content in hand, their marketing people are much more likely to get articles published in prestigious journals. Their PR people are more likely to get journalists calling them back to talk about some study that they have told the journalists about. Their marketing events people are much more likely to get the experts whose names are at the top of the research report or a Harvard Business Review article or the authors of a book. They're much more likely to get them conference speaking opportunities, often keynote speaking opportunities, because their ideas have become well sought out in the marketplace. And for the company's salespeople, the business developers, content connoisseurs, thought leadership chiefs who know what great content is about and lead their people to produce it, they're much better able to produce content that opens doors for the sales force and doors at higher places and bigger companies, meaning companies with bigger budgets. The fourth advantage that thought leadership chiefs get when they are true content connoisseurs is producing content that leads to service innovation. So what do I mean by this? I mean, it's content that can be turned into a whole new service or an update of an existing service, an improvement on a service that the company is already delivering today. So if a company does a big research study on how the best companies design digital business models, the findings may turn into a whole new service if that firm has not really been doing work in that area. Or for the media industry practice of a large law firm, a study about how big companies are protecting their clients' intellectual property from AI firms that are using that intellectual property to construct their large language models. That research can turn into a whole new service. So in this way, thought leadership research should be fueling service innovation and not just supplying marketing and sales with content that is opening up doors at existing and new clients. Thought leadership content needs to drive service innovation, and it's what I call the supply side of thought leadership. And I go into depth on that in my book, Competing on Thought Leadership. It's all about service innovation. The movie director of the Godfather series, Francis Ford Coppola, once said, "The essence of a great screenplay is an extraordinary premise. If you come up with a premise that is unique and original, you're halfway there." Another movie director, Steven Spielberg, put it this way: "Audiences are hard to please if you're just giving them special effects, but they're easy to please if you're giving them a good story." The people who work in thought leadership need to understand what constitutes a great story and how to develop it. They need to become content connoisseurs. Those thought leadership professionals will be the ones who reach the pinnacle of this great profession. Thank you for joining us for our first episode of The Huddle, and look forward to having you join us for future episodes. If you enjoyed this episode of The Huddle, please leave a like and consider subscribing to our channel to get our latest thought leadership insights as soon as they're available. You can find out more about The Huddle at budaytlp.com.